Welcome to Trans News. Today I am bringing to our viewers my analysis on the recent big interview President Putin had with Mint on July 13, in which he said the root cause of tensions between Russia and the West is geopolitical and not ideological, contrary to what they believed. Watch this clip.
Yet we had illusions, I did too, which were about the following. Me and many others at that time believed that the problems and relations between the Soviet Union and the so-called West were primarily ideological differences. On one side, a communist regime which was considered by many as tyranny, and on the other, the democratic world led by
Putin
the
is saying they came to realize the talks and diplomacy with the West during the Soviet Union era were hypocritical and reiterated it in this clip.
To me that ideology might have had some significance, but essentially, all these contradictions are based on geopolitical interests.
One of the most egregious betrayal of the talks and agreements by the West was the expansion of NATO eastbound towards the borders of Russia.
Somehow adjust their attitude towards Russia, considering that, for instance, since the 1990s they promised us not to expand NATO to the east. They lied at every step, constantly deceiving and pretending that nothing of the kind happened.
Asserted Russia's right to be independent and sovereign by any means necessary, or else they will be wiped off the map.
To argue or to confront Russia against someone. We simply cannot live otherwise. Russia will either be independent and sovereign or will not
furthermore
exist.
said mutual respect is important for sustainable peace with their colleagues in the global West, without imposing any one will or values or ways of life on anyone.
Therefore, it seemed to me that it was about time to tell our colleagues, we need to live peacefully. Let's somehow treat each other with respect, without imposing our will, without attempting to suppress another will, considering the interests of all participants in international.
Colonial masters are saying Russia is destroying their empire, and it's with big laugh that Putin is taking those accusations, noting that it's those colonies who went to the Kremlin seeking help to be freed from slavery, bondage, inhumane treatment and dungeon conditions they were forced to accept, said to say, happy slaves or subhuman status quo. Nevertheless, Putin mentioned the mutual cooperation between the Soviet Union and USA back in the days to liberate colonies to gain their independence. Watch this.
World War II, the United States, along with the Soviet Union, by the way, in some ways worked towards the destruction of these empires and worked to assist the colonies in gaining their independence and sovereignty.
As I conclude this show, I want to say without Russia I strongly believe half the Earth population would have been exterminated with biochemical weapons and wars, sending the rest who are alive back to the chains of slavery. Till next time.